They were two young lovers bound by a promise of forever, a bond so deep that even poverty could not break it, and hardship only drew them closer. But life had other plans. One ordinary afternoon, everything changed. He collapsed, and the doctors delivered a devastating truth. His kidneys were failing. He was dying. And in that moment of fear, she made a decision only true love could inspire. With nothing but compassion in her heart and pain in her eyes, she chose to save him the only way she could. She gave him her kidney, half of her life, placed inside him. But what happened after his recovery, what he did to the woman who saved his life, will break your heart in ways you never imagined. This is a story of sacrifice, betrayal, and the fragile strength of the human heart. So settle in as we dive into this emotional, moral, soul-stirring journey. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and comment. And if you're just joining us, please subscribe so you never miss our heartfelt stories. Let's dive in. Love has a strange way of choosing the most unlikely people. And for Jane and Femi, it bloomed in a place where life was hardest, inside a tiny one-room apartment at the edge of a noisy Lagos slum. The room had cracked walls, a rusted ceiling fan that groaned whenever it spun, and a small window that barely allowed in sunlight. Yet in that small corner of the world, they found something bigger than themselves. They found each other. From the first day they met at the community borehole carrying buckets of water, there was an instant connection. Femi, always smiling, always full of dreams, offered to help her lift her bucket. Jane, shy but warm-hearted, thanked him with a small smile. From that simple gesture, a bond began, one that grew stronger with every shared struggle. Femi had no job and lived from hand to mouth. Jane sold recharge cards, washed clothes for neighbors, and sometimes cleaned stalls in the market. Their income was small, unpredictable, and barely enough to keep hunger away. But none of that mattered when they were together. On warm nights, when NEPA took light as usual, and the whole street fell into darkness, they would sit outside on a broken wooden bench watching the moon. They would talk for hours about life and their shared dreams. "Jane," Femi would say, pulling her close, "one day I'll become a man you'll be proud of." She would smile, resting her head on his chest. "You are already that man. We may be poor, but with you, I don't feel poor." It was on one of those nights, under the dim moonlight, with the distant sound of generators humming across the neighborhood, that Femi made a vow that carved itself into Jane's heart forever. "If you die, I die. If you live, I live. I swear on my life, I'll love you till the end." And Jane, with tears in her eyes, whispered back, "Forever, Femi. Nothing will break us." They sealed it with a kiss that tasted of hope and desperation. But life is unpredictable, and love alone does not stop hunger. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and their struggles deepened. Femi still couldn't find steady work. He would go out every morning with his worn-out CV tucked into his pocket, returning home with tired steps and a sad smile. "No luck today," he would say. Jane always acted strong. "Don't worry. God will provide. We will be fine." Some days they shared a single loaf of bread. Other days they went to bed hungry. But even in hunger, they found a way to laugh. Laugh about the landlord who knocked like a police officer. Laugh about the rain leaking into their room. Laugh about how their fried plantain never tasted the same twice. Their joy came from holding each other, whispering dumb jokes, and dreaming of a better future. Despite the hardship, Jane remained Femi's biggest supporter. She encouraged him to keep pushing, keep applying, keep believing. And Femi adored her with every bit of his soul. Whenever she returned tired and dusty from a long day of hustling, he would massage her feet, rub her shoulders, and remind her that she was the best thing in his life. "Jane, if love was money, we'd be billionaires," he would say, making her laugh. It was simple, humble, imperfect, but it was love. One late afternoon, everything changed. Jane returned home from selling recharge cards and found Femi lying on the floor, sweating heavily, his breath short and painful. Panic surged through her chest. "Femi, what's wrong? Talk to me." He tried to speak, but only gasped weakly. Fear exploded inside her. With the help of neighbors, she rushed him to the nearest hospital. Jane held his hand tightly as they entered the emergency room, her heart racing. The nurses took him inside, and she paced outside with trembling legs. She prayed, she cried, she begged God not to take the only person who made life bearable. After what felt like a century, the doctor finally came out. His expression alone shattered her. Miss, your partner has a severe kidney problem. Both kidneys are failing. It felt like the room spun. Doctor, what do you mean failing? She whispered, her voice breaking. The doctor sighed sympathetically. He needs dialysis immediately, and eventually a transplant. Jane felt her knees as weaken. A, a transplant? Ah, doctor, how much is that? The doctor mentioned an amount that sounded like something only billionaires could afford, an amount Jane and Femi couldn't raise even in 10 years. She burst into tears. No, 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 please, doctor. There must be another way. There is no other way, the doctor said softly. Without a transplant, he will not survive. The words hit Jane like a hammer. He will not survive. He will die. Her heart clenched as she stared at Femi through the glass window, weak, unconscious, pale. This was the man who promised to Dawn if she died. This was the man she planned a future with. This was her everything. Her world shattered. For days, Jane lived like someone possessed. She begged neighbors for money. She borrowed from friends. She sent messages to old schoolmates, church members, even distant relatives. She sold her clothes, her phone, and any little valuables she owned. She worked double shifts, triple shifts, cleaning, washing, anything she could do. She even approached loan sharks, dangerous men who smiled too widely and offered money at wicked interest rates. But even with all the sacrifice, all the humiliating begging and backbreaking work, she still couldn't raise the required amount. And Femi's health was worsening. His once bright eyes dimmed, his laughter disappeared. Even his voice grew faint. He started waking at night, vomiting, shaking, groaning in pain. Jane would hold him tightly, crying with him. Please don't die, Femi, please. He would grip her hand weakly. I don't want to leave you. It was in that storm of desperation that a thought, wild, dangerous, unimaginable, entered Jane's mind. If she couldn't buy a kidney, she would give hers. The idea terrified her. But the fear of losing Femi was worse. She cried for hours, thinking, questioning, trembling, but the conclusion remained the same. She couldn't let him die. Not Femi, not the man she loved more than herself. When she finally told the doctor her decision, he looked at her in shock. Do you understand the risks? Donating a kidney is not a small matter. I understand, she whispered. But I choose him. Her parents objected violently. Her friends called her insane. Even some nurses urged her to rethink. But Jane had made her decision in the deepest part of her soul. Her life was tied to his, and she would save him. Even if it meant losing herself. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and heartbreak. Jane sat in the cold hallway, her fingers trembling as she clutched Femi's shirt. The shirt she had removed when he collapsed at home. It was still damp with sweat, still carrying the warmth of the man she loved more than her own life. Inside the ward, doctors moved around Femi's bed with urgency. Machines beeped rhythmically, each sound stabbing Jane's chest like a blade. She prayed silently, desperately, her lips shaking. God, please, please don't take him. Take anything else, but not him. Minutes passed like years. A nurse finally walked toward her. The doctor will speak with you shortly. Please calm down. Calm? How could she be calm when Femi's life dangled by a thread? Her mind replayed the moment she found him on the floor, his body curled, his lips pale, his breath shallow. She thought he was dying. She thought she had lost him. The fear still squeezed her chest uncontrollably. When the doctor finally approached, Jane stood so fast her legs almost buckled. How is he, doctor? Talk to me, please, she begged, her voice cracking. The doctor took a breath, his expression serious. He is conscious now, but very weak. We ran tests and the results are concerning. Her heart stilled. Concerning? How? His kidneys are failing. Both of them, the doctor said gently. It's a condition that has likely been progressing for months. Jane felt her whole body go numb. Kidneys? Failing? But he was fine. He only complained about being tired sometimes. He was fine. I know this is hard to hear, the doctor continued, but if nothing is done, he will slip into total renal failure. Tears blurred her vision. What do we do? What can save him? For now, he needs immediate dialysis, repeatedly, and eventually, a kidney transplant. The words struck like thunder. She blinked, her breath trapped in her throat. A transplant? But how much does that cost? The doctor hesitated, which frightened her even more. Around 12 to 15 million naira. That includes surgery, recovery, medications, and follow-up sessions. Jane staggered backward as if slapped. Her legs gave way and she sank onto the plastic bench. Millions. That kind of money was like heaven, far beyond the reach of ordinary people like her and Femi. The doctor placed a hand on her shoulder. I can see you care for him deeply, but we must face this realistically. Without a transplant, he won't survive. Her tears fell uncontrollably. She held her face shaking. No, no, God, not Femi. Please. The doctor continued. We can discuss payment plans for dialysis, but even that will be expensive. You need to think very carefully. When Jane entered the ward, Femi lay on the bed, looking like a shadow of the man she knew. His skin was yellowish, his face thin, his eyes sunken. Tubes and wires surrounded him. Jane, he whispered, barely audible. She rushed to him and grabbed his hand. I'm here, baby. I'm not going anywhere. He blinked slowly, tears gathering in his tired eyes. What did the doctor say? Jane forced a smile, wiping her cheeks quickly. Nothing we can't handle, okay? You'll be fine. She didn't want to break him. She didn't want him to lose hope. But he knew. He always sensed her better than she understood herself. Jane, I heard something about kidneys. He swallowed weakly. Am I going to die? Stop it, she snapped sharply, tears spilling again. Don't ever say that. You'll be fine, I promise you. Femi closed his eyes as more tears slipped down his cheek. You deserve better than this life. Better than me. Don't say that, she whispered, laying beside him carefully on the bed, hugging him gently. I only want you. Just you. He relaxed slightly, breathing soft and shallow. I'm scared. I'm scared too, she'd admitted. But we'll fight. We'll fight together. And she did fight. For the next several days, Jane became a warrior. She ran from place to place, begging, pleading, explaining, crying. She borrowed money from neighbors, from her mother's prayer group, from the market women she helped occasionally. She walked to relatives' houses she hadn't seen in years. Many doors closed. Some didn't even open in the first place. Kidney transplant. My sister, that's millions. Oh, I don't have money. Jane, you are a good girl, but I cannot help you with this one. You want to borrow how much? Haba, even me, I'm struggling. People sympathized, but sympathy could not pay hospital bills. She worked like she had never worked before. She cleaned houses until her hands blistered. She washed clothes until her arms hurt. She fetched water for people and carried heavy basins on her head. She slept only a few hours a night, her body weak, but her determination fierce. Every evening, after hustling all day, she would return to the hospital to sit beside Femi, holding his hand while dialysis drained the little strength he had left. Sometimes he would whisper, Jane, you are doing too much. And she would respond, there is nothing like too much when someone you love is dying. But the truth was painful. No matter how hard she tried, the amount she gathered couldn't scratch even a fraction of what they needed. One night, as she walked home alone on a dim road, her legs trembling with exhaustion, she broke down completely. She sank to the ground and cried uncontrollably, her sobs echoing through the quiet street. God, why? Why him? Why now? Why us? She clutched her chest as if trying to hold her heart together. I love him. Isn't that enough? Why isn't love enough to save him? Her tears created wet circles in the dust beneath her. Her body shook from the pain of helplessness. She cried until she had no more tears left. When she finally stood up, wiping her swollen face, she felt something shift inside her. A thought, a dangerous one. A thought formed from hopelessness, desperation, and love. If she could not buy a kidney, she could give one. The next day, she marched into the hospital determined, though fear twisted her stomach. She approached the doctor. Sir, please. I want to do the test. I want to check if I'm a match. The doctor looked at her as if she had said something outrageous. You donate your kidney? Yes, she replied firmly. You do understand what you're saying, right? This is not blood. This is a vital organ. You will live with one kidney for the rest of your life. I know, she whispered. He studied her face deeply. Do you have family? Who will support you? Who will take care of you if complications arise? Jane swallowed painfully. I will take care of myself. I don't need anything. I just need him to live. The doctor sighed. You should think. I have thought, she cut in, all night. I made my decision. Her parents were furious when they found out. Her mother cried, Jane, are you mad? You want to risk your life for a man? Are you the first girl to love? Her father shouted, if you do this nonsense, don't come back to this house. I did not raise a foolish daughter. Her friends tried to reason with her. You're only in your 20s. Why would you give up a kidney? What if something happens to you later? You're doing too much. You can find another man. But Jane remained unmoved. She lived in a body, yes, but her heart belonged to Femi, and she knew she could never live with herself if he died while she did nothing. She told them all, if I die saving him, I die knowing I did the right thing. Even Femi, when he found out, panicked. No, Jane, don't do this. I can't let you risk your life for me. She cupped his face, tears running freely. Let me save you, please. I can't watch you die. He shook his head weakly. But you're all I have. If anything happens to you, she leaned her forehead against his, then don't let me lose you either. And with that painful, emotional moment, her fate was sealed. Jane began the tests. She prayed with every heartbeat. And when the results came back, she was a match. The same blood, the same rare compatibility, the same lifeline he desperately needed. She wept, not out of fear but gratitude. Thank you, God, she whispered. I can save him. But she didn't know that the greatest pain of her life was still waiting ahead. The morning of the surgery arrived like a cold storm. Even the sky seemed to mourn, covered with thick gray clouds. Inside the hospital, the hallways buzzed with quiet urgency, nurses moving quickly, stretchers being wheeled past, machines beeping in the distance. Jane stood in front of the theater room, trembling uncontrollably. She wore the thin hospital gown they gave her hair tied back, her face pale from stress and sleepless nights. She had barely eaten in days. The fear in her stomach twisted painfully, but she pushed it down. She wasn't here for herself. She was here for Femi. Before she was taken into the operating room, Femi was wheeled beside her. He looked weak, frail like a child, his eyes sunken, his skin pale. But when he saw Jane, his eyes filled instantly with tears. Jane, he whispered, reaching for her hand. She took it gently, though her own fingers shook. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. He swallowed, his voice cracking. You don't have to do this. Please. I don't want to lose you because of me. Waste squeezed his hand, tears falling freely. You won't lose me. I'll survive, and so will you. We promise forever. Remember? He nodded weakly, but his tears flowed. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. And you're the love of my life. A nurse approached. We're ready. Their hands slowly separated as the beds rolled away in opposite directions. And as the door closed behind Jane, she whispered a final prayer. God, don't let me die. Don't let him die. The operating room was freezing. Bright lights hovered above her, blinding. Doctors and nurses moved around her with practiced efficiency. A mask was placed over her face and a calm voice said, count backwards from 10. 10, 9, 8. Her voice faded and darkness swallowed her. Hours later, the surgery was complete. Femi's body had accepted her kidney. The transplant was successful. When Jane slowly regained consciousness in the recovery ward, pain rushed through her body like fire. Her throat was dry, her vision blurry, and every breath felt like a battle. She tried to move but cried out softly. The incision burned like a blade inside her. A nurse rushed over. Easy, easy, you're awake, thank God. Jane forced her lips to move. Femi? He's alive, the nurse replied with a gentle smile. And stable. The relief that washed over Jane was overwhelming. She closed her eyes and sobbed weakly. Every inch of her body hurt, but knowing he had survived made the pain worth it. Over the next few days, her recovery was slow and difficult. Standing felt like climbing a mountain. Walking to the bathroom required assistance. She experienced sharp cramps, dizziness, and exhaustion. Doctors warned her to avoid stress, heavy lifting, and certain foods for the rest of her life. But even in her fragile state, all she thought about was Femi. The first time she was strong enough to visit him, she shuffled into his ward, holding onto the wall for support. When he saw her, he broke down completely. "Jane," he whispered, his voice cracking, "you saved my life." She smiled weakly. "I told you I would." He reached for her hand with trembling fingers. "How do I even thank you? How do I repay you for this?" Jane chuckled softly despite the pain. "You repay me by living. That's all." He pulled her hand to his chest, tears falling. "I swear on my life, Jane, I will love you forever. I will never forget this. Never." The sincerity in his eyes melted her completely. They cried together, two young lovers who had survived the kind of storm that destroys many relationships. They healed side by side. Jane would sit on Femi's bed, feeding him slowly, helping him sip water, brushing his hair, wiping his forehead. Even with pain shooting through her body, she gave him everything she had left. Sometimes he would shake his head and whisper, "You should be resting." "Why are you helping me?" And she would smile, "Because half of me is in you. I have to make sure you're okay." He would laugh through his tears and pull her into a careful hug, mindful of her stitches. Their families, neighbors, church members, even the hospital staff were moved by her sacrifice. Some called her an angel. Others said such love rarely existed. And for a moment, for a beautiful period of time, their love truly felt unbreakable. When they were finally discharged weeks later, they stood together outside the hospital doors, the sunlight warm on their faces. Femi held her hand tightly and whispered, "This is our second chance, Jane. I will never forget what you did for me. You're my everything, my life, my heart." Jane smiled, her eyes soft with hope. "We survived the worst. Nothing can break us now." She believed it. Her heart believed it. Her scar believed it. Little did she know, the future held a heartbreak far deeper than the blade that cut her open. Life after the transplant felt like a miracle at first. For the first time in months, Femi was gaining weight, smiling more and breathing without pain. The yellow tint on his skin slowly disappeared. His energy returned. He laughed easily again. He walked without struggling. Every improvement filled Jane with joy. Joy so deep she felt her sacrifice had finally paid off. They returned to their little one-room apartment, but everything felt new. They cooked together, they prayed together, they held each other at night, whispering about their future, the children they would have, the wedding they would plan when money finally came. They dreamed loudly, confident that God had given them a second chance. One evening as they ate together on their tiny plastic table, Femi held her hand and said warmly, "Jane, you gave me life. I will spend the rest of mine making you the happiest woman alive." Jane beamed. She believed him. She trusted him with every beat of her heart. Months passed and blessings began to pour in. Femi applied for jobs again. Batham, Sayan, this time with renewed confidence and strength. He attended interviews looking sharp, groomed, and healthier. Soon he landed an opportunity at a prestigious company through a woman he met during a professional training program. Her name was Cynthia. According to him, she was just a facilitator, someone who saw potential in him and promised to recommend him for a position. Jane was genuinely happy. She even prayed for the woman. "God bless her for helping my Femi," she whispered each night. Femi soon started the BUM, earning more money than he ever had in his entire life. Their finances improved. They could finally afford decent meals. Jane reduced her multiple stressful hustles and focused on running a small provision stall. For the first time in years, she didn't feel exhausted. She didn't feel afraid. They celebrated every little progress like a victory. Femi always looked into her eyes and said, "I owe you everything." And Jane truly believed this was the beginning of their forever. Then the changes began. At first they were small, barely noticeable. Femi started coming home late from work. He said he was networking, bonding with his new team, or attending office development meetings. Jane believed him. He started dressing differently. Expensive shirts, new shoes, costly perfumes she didn't know he could afford. He said it was for the job. Jane believed him. He became protective of his phone. He changed his password. He turned off notifications. He answered calls on the balcony. He said it was office policy. Jane still believed him. But the distance grew, the warmth faded, the kisses became quick pecks, the hugs became stiff, the smiles became forced. One night, Femi arrived home smelling of a strange perfume, sweet, bold, expensive. Jane inhaled it and felt a sting in her chest. "Where did you go after work?" she asked gently. Why are you monitoring me? He snapped back quickly. Monitor? Femi, I'm just asking. Don't start, Jane. I've had a long day. She fell silent, swallowing her pain. She didn't want to fight, not with a man whose life she fought to save, not with a man carrying half of her inside him. Days turned into weeks, and Femi drifted further away. He stopped praying with her. He stopped holding her at night. He called her too clingy, too emotional, too insecure. Every word felt like a knife. One evening, after cooking his favorite meal, yam porridge with smoked fish, Jane waited for him excitedly. She wanted to bond again. She wanted to talk. She wanted her man back. But Femi walked in with his tie loosened and a cold expression. He didn't greet her. He didn't look at her food. Instead, he dropped a brown envelope on the table. We need to talk, he said flatly. Her throat tightened. Okay, Dim, I'm listening. He took a deep breath, refusing to meet her eyes. Jane, I've found someone else. Her heart stopped. Someone else? Femi? What are you saying? Her name is Cynthia, he continued, his voice emotionless. She's the one who helped me get the job. Jane shook her head in disbelief. Femi? After everything? After the surgery? After what I did for you? He exhaled sharply, irritated. That's exactly the problem, Jane. You always bring that up. You suffocate me with guilt. Guilt? She gasped. I gave you my kidney. And I appreciate it, he said coldly. Which is why I'm giving you this. He pushed the envelope toward her. Jane's hands trembled as she opened it. A check. $5,000. For your kidney, he said. She felt the world spin. Femi, what is this? What do you mean for my kidney? Is my love something you can buy? My life? My body? Femi sighed impatiently. Jane, let's be realistic. I need to think about my future, about my children. I want them to have a beautiful, sophisticated mother, someone with class. The words hit her like bullets. You're not very beautiful, Jane, he added coldly. I'm sorry, but I have to be honest. Cynthia's different. Her knees weakened. She grabbed the chair before she collapsed. Femi, you promised me forever. He shrugged. I changed. Life changed me. Money changed things. Love isn't enough anymore. Her tears fell uncontrollably. After everything I sacrificed, you still choose another woman? He turned away. I choose a better life. Jane broke. She left the house with her heart in pieces, her soul crushed, her world shattered beyond recognition. Every step she took felt like she was walking through fire. Her scar burned. Her chest ached. Her spirit bled. She whispered repeatedly, he took my kidney and broke my heart. But she didn't know. Her heartbreak was only the beginning. In the days that followed, Jane lived inside a fog, a heavy, suffocating haze of heartbreak and betrayal. She moved like a ghost, drifting through life without purpose. Her body felt like an empty shell. Her soul felt torn beyond repair. Every morning she woke with the same stabbing reminder. She had given Femi her kidney, and he had repaid her with abandonment. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't think straight. Her neighbors noticed her sunken eyes and trembling hands. Some whispered in pity, others in mockery. That girl? The one who donated kidney for love. Ah, she don't suffer. Oh, I heard he left her. Imagine, after all her sacrifice. She was foolish. Who risks their life for a man? The words pierced her like arrows. She started avoiding people. She stopped going to church. She shut her phone off for weeks. She stayed indoors, lying on her thin mattress, staring blankly at the ceiling. Nights were the worst. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Femi's voice saying, "You're not very beautiful. I want my kids to have a beautiful mother. This is for your kidney. I choose a better life." Those words haunted her. They echoed through her mind until she screamed into her pillow. Sometimes she pressed her hand against the long surgical scar on her side and cried violently. She bled for him. She opened her body for him. She risked her life for him. She lived with only one kidney because of him. And yet, he discarded her like disposable waste. The pain turned into bitterness. The bitterness turned into anger. The anger hardened into rage. But the rage did not remain rage. It mutated into something darker. One afternoon, after nearly a month of living like a shadow, Jane walked to the mirror. Her reflection startled her. Her once bright eyes were hollow, her cheeks were sunken, her lips were dry and cracked, her hair was scattered. She wasn't the Jane Femi once loved. She wasn't even the Jane she recognized. She touched the mirror with trembling fingers. "Why did I do it?" she whispered. "Why did I give him my kidney? Why did I love so blindly?" Her eyes filled with fresh tears. "He has part of me in his body, and yet he threw me away." The thought twisted inside her like a knife. "He doesn't deserve that kidney," she whispered. "He doesn't deserve to live with it." Her breath trembled violently. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. "No, he doesn't deserve to breathe because of me and give that life to another woman." Because that was exactly what he was doing. Living happily, flourishing, glowing, enjoying success, planning marriage with someone else, while she lived with one kidney in a shattered life. Something broke inside her. She whispered a line that sealed her transformation. "If he took life from me, I will take life from him." The decision grew roots inside her. Dark roots, vengeful roots. She began planning. She knew exactly where he lived. She had lived with him. She knew his routine, his workplace, his work hours. She knew exactly when he would be home. She also knew where to get what she needed. That week, she went to a notorious neighborhood at the edge of the city, a place where desperate people went to buy things decent people shouldn't buy. Her heart pounded as she approached the small, dimly lit shop tucked between two abandoned buildings. Inside, the air smelled of smoke and danger. Men sat on wooden stools, their eyes watching her silently. A rough-looking man leaned back and smiled dangerously. "Fine girl. Wettin' you want?" Jane swallowed hard. "I need a gun." The man raised his eyebrow. "You want rob or you want kill?" Jane's voice came out cold and steady. "I want to kill." The men stared at her, surprised at the calmness in her tone. "No shaking," the man murmured. "Follow me." Within minutes, the illegal deal was done. Jane walked out of the dark shop with a small metal weapon wrapped inside a black nylon bag. Her hands shook as she held it, but her heart felt disturbingly calm. Calm and cold. That night, Jane sat on her mattress, the gun in her lap. She stared at it for hours. Her mind replayed her entire history with Femi, how they met, how he held her when she cried, how they shared hunger, how they shared dreams, how she almost died on an operating table to save him. Every memory burned, every sacrifice hurt, every promise tasted bitter. She wiped her tears and whispered, "He killed my future. He killed my heart. The only thing left for him is death." Her body trembled from both fear and fury. Her hands tightened around the gun. "I will end this. Tonight." On the evening she chose to kill him, darkness covered the sky like a heavy cloth. Thunder rumbled in the distance, as if the heavens themselves were warning her. But Jane didn't care. She wore a black hoodie, tied her hair tightly, wiped her face clean, and tucked the gun into her bag. Her steps were cold, determined, and slow as she approached Femi's compound. Her heart raced, but her mind was steady. As she got closer, she whispered, "You took half of me. Tonight, I take all of you." But something strange happened before she reached his door. A loud sound echoed from inside. A gunshot. Jane froze. Her heart jumped into her throat. "What was that?" she whispered in fear. Before she could react, the front door burst open and a woman ran out. Cynthia. The elegant woman was disheveled, her hair scattered, her clothes stained with what looked like blood. Her hands shook violently as she gripped a gun. Her face looked wild, eyes wide, lips trembling, like someone battling inner demons. Jane's breath caught in her throat. Cynthia was a psychosis addict. Femi mentioned nothing about this. He probably didn't know. The woman stumbled, muttering nonsense before rushing into the street and disappearing into the night. Jane stood rooted in fear. Did she shoot him? Her bag slipped from her shoulder. Her weapon suddenly felt meaningless. Her legs moved before her mind caught up. She ran into the house. Inside, she found Femi lying on the floor, bleeding, barely conscious. Blood pooled around him. His chest rose and fell weakly. His eyes opened slightly when he heard her. Jane, he whispered, choking on his breath. Her heart twisted painfully. Femi, he reached a trembling hand toward her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for how I treated you. His voice cracked. Please, help me, save me. Jane stood still, frozen by a storm of emotions. Love, anger, betrayal, hurt, confusion. The gun was still in her hand. The man she once died for, the man who broke her, the man who carried her kidney, was now begging her for life. Her tears fell uncontrollably. Should she help him? Or should she walk away and let karma finish the work? The night was thick with tension, silent, unmoving, suffocating. Every sound in the house echoed like thunder in Jane's ears as she stared at the man bleeding on the cold tiled floor. Femi, the man she once loved so deeply that she gave him half her life. The man she once fought heaven and earth to save. The man who repaid her sacrifice with betrayal. Now he lay before her drenched in blood, gasping like a dying animal, reaching out to her with trembling fingers. Jane, he whispered, voice weak and broken. Jane froze. The gun slipped slightly in her palm. Her heart hammered violently as conflicting emotions crashed inside her. Rage, love, disappointment, fear, heartbreak, vengeance, and something she didn't want to name. Pity. She took one shaky step closer. His eyes met hers, full of pain and desperation. Please, he whimpered. I need help. Don't leave me. Jane felt her throat tighten as tears stung her eyes. Why are you calling me? She whispered, her voice trembling. Why not call the woman you left me for? Femi blinked weakly. She shot me. Jane's breath caught. You mean Cynthia pulled the trigger? He coughed, blood dribbling from the corner of his mouth. She got angry. Jealous? She said I was cheating. She said she would ruin me the way she ruins all the men who lie to her. Jane's body trembled. So the woman he chose over her, the woman he abandoned her for, was mentally unstable. A threat, a ticking bomb he willingly embraced. Femi clutched his stomach, groaning. I didn't know she had psychosis episodes. She hides it. Oh God, Jane. Jane's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Part of her wanted to scream, this is what you chose. Another part whispered, but he is still a human being. Another part echoed, but he broke you. Another part begged, but you once loved him. She didn't trust herself. She felt like she might burst. Femi tried to lift his head, but collapsed again. His voice was barely a whisper. Please don't leave me to die. Jane shut her eyes, tears dripping down her cheeks. She remembered holding his hand during dialysis. She remembered praying over him in the hospital. She remembered donating her kidney while her mother cried and begged her to stop. She remembered waking in agony after the surgery. She remembered feeding him, bathing him, massaging him as he healed. She remembered his promise, I will love you forever. And then she remembered the day he dropped the check on the table. This is for your kidney. You're not beautiful enough. I choose a better life. Her heartbeat slammed painfully against her ribs. Her hand tightened around the gun. I came here to kill you, she said.